So I have been dabbling between lightning arrow and tornado shot. I haven't been able to really find a whole lot comparing the two on YouTube, so I wanted to bring you guys a video where we compare it and you guys can make a decision on which one that you like the best. So let's start with lightning arrow. Lightning arrow, it is a great starter build. It's very viable in the early game, and it can be viable in the late game. It also has great movement speed. It has great clear speed for mapping, so you can really dive into maps with this build. It can do a lot of damage in AoE. It can bounce the projectiles off everything, and you can really clear those mobs up pretty fastly. Another thing is it has a very simple playstyle, so it has more of like a relaxed grinding type of thing. So if you guys are kind of into that kind of play style, then this could really be your build. The scalability, it can scale really well. Early game, you don't really need a whole lot of investment into it, but you do have the possibility of making it really really a lot better with late game. So let's hop into the cons. The cons is obviously low tankiness. I mean, you're an archer, you have evasion, but the thing is like you really dependent on your movement speed, and the burst damage from monsters can really wipe you in pretty much one hit. I mean, I've had that happen quite a few times to me where you just get one hit and you're just like, what just happened here? So when you're bossing with lightning arrow, the build has more AoE damage. It doesn't have a lot of single target damage. Now, I mean, you can kind of like manipulate it to where it has a little bit more single target damage, but you can't really do a whole lot. So it's also very gear dependent. Okay, so like whenever you're using the build, you don't have to be dependent on the trader, but you kind of do, because it can only get so far without trading or crafting and things like that. Like the build is powerful, but you really depend on the gear that you have on your character, which is a con in my opinion. So you ask me, Tonky, what skill gems were you using for lightning arrow then? Well, obviously the first one is lightning arrow. That is your main bread and butter skill. That's what does all the damage. After that, I go with returning projectile support. That just helps to make sure that your arrows bounce around a little bit, and it does a little bit more damage when they're bouncing around. In my opinion, I really liked using that. After that, we use cold damage support. That adds more cold damage as the gem levels up. You just do more damage, obviously. I preferred cold damage support. You could go, fire, you could go lightning, but in my opinion, cold damage support was the best. After that, we went elemental damage, okay, with attacks. That just boosts your elemental damage because lightning arrow is an elemental attacks type of skill, so you want to add as much elemental damage as possible. After that, we went inspiration support just to help with some mana costs, and then finally we went trinity support to give even more boost to the elemental damage. Now, is that the best way to build? It might not be meta, but it is what I built, and I really found a lot of success with it. So it's really up to you. I just wanted to make sure I brought you guys the skill gems, so that way you knew what you could use early game or use mid game to late game. So if you like those, let me know. If you have any other kind of tweaks that you guys preferred, leave me a comment and let me know what they were. So let's hop on into tornado shot. Good old tornado shot, dude. Ever since I switched from lightning arrow to tornado shot, I have not been disappointed. There's a lot of pros and a few cons to tornado shot. So the first one is it has insanely good clear speed. It's very efficient with farming maps and a lot of league mechanics like totem and things like that. You can really farm these very, very well with tornado shot. The strong single target damage output to melt bosses and beat in-game bosses is just insane with this. So you really get a lot of damage from this skill because you shoot, they burst out, they return, it bounces around, you do a lot of damage. So that's where you're getting your single target from, is you shoot and it bounces and you just keep doing consistent damage. It's just, dude, if you haven't tried it, you really got to try it. I'm telling you, just try it one time and then you'll be like, okay, this changed my life. But there are a few cons. there is very lackluster in the defensive capabilities. Okay, you can still get one shot, you can still, you know, take very, very, very big burst damage. So you just kind of got to make sure that you build your resists, you build your HP, and you give yourself this 100% spell suppression that you should really be having. Okay, don't do like me and be running around with 78% spell suppression, get one shot, and you wonder what just happened. I'm just saying. So then you have you got to also remember that this is a very high investment build. Okay, in order to make this top tier, which, you know, I believe it is the meta right now for archer builds, you got to really invest a lot into it. Okay, so if you're not able to invest a lot into the build, you may want to rethink the build. Okay, you may want to go for lightning arrow if you're just kind of like a casual gamer. I would kind of do this. Okay, just go towards lightning arrow and then farm it up, and then one day, you know, you'll be able to get to that, you know, top tier with lightning or with tornado shot. Also, if you're trying to do uber bosses, this is very difficult to do unless you are geared out correctly. So if you're trying to tackle those in-game bosses, you can go down other roads, which are probably a lot easier to tackle uber bosses, but that's really up to you and what you're trying to decide to do with your gameplay. So now you ask, well, what are you specifically building, Tonk, with tornado shot? So the first skill obviously is tornado shot. That's going to be your bread and butter. That's what does all the damage. After that, I'm running with greater multiple projectile support. That's going to give us more projectiles, which, you know, the more projectiles for tornado shot, the better, because you're doing more damage with more projectiles. I know that the more projectiles that you have, you do less damage per projectile, but the thing is, with how this build goes and how this build explodes and bounces around and does all the arrows, you're getting a lot of damage because you have a lot of arrows. That is the point. After that, I'm running Mirage Archer. You want to make sure that you have Mirage Archer because he pops up, he's shooting, and you're really getting a lot out of the Mirage Archer. The next one, we're going elemental damage with attacks. That's just giving you some more elemental damage on top of, you know, what you're running. So you always want that 30% more elemental damage, and that's just a level 15 skill. After that, we're going Trinity support. We're adding even more elemental damage, and that's going to, you know, boost your damage tremendously. After that, we're getting inspiration. It is always a good idea to have as much mana regen or, you know, reduce mana cost as possible. So inspiration really helps with that, especially because we are running 2 auras. So your mana's already really low. So you got to make sure you have inspiration. It's super crucial. So now let's go into what bow I am using. The bow I am using is the Eagle Siege Ivory bow. All right, whenever you do this, what I did yesterday on stream was I purchased in the trade shop an elemental bow with minimum of 1,000 elemental damage. So if you have the divines, you really need to look into this, okay? It's going to help your damage tremendously. So a perfect roll, you want critical strike chance. I got 6.5. I know that you can get up to like 8. You would probably should go for that if you have more divines. You want as much attack speed as possible on it as well. So this one, it adds 23 to 389 lightning damage plus 27 dex and intelligence. So the dex and intelligence helps a lot because, you know, you need the dex and intelligence for your different skills, right? Then we got the fire damage, the cold damage, 12% attack speed, and plus 7 to fire resist. So we're getting a little bit of extra resist on there. The last one is 22% increased attack speed while a rare or unique enemy is nearby. That just really helps with, you know, your single target DPS whenever you're trying to get final bosses down. So that is what I use for my tornado shot. Tornado shot has literally changed my gameplay, and I'm absolutely loving it. If you guys found this video to be any kind of helpful or enjoyed it, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, and hit that notification bell for me. We do go live every weekend on Twitch and on YouTube. So if you guys haven't done it yet, make sure you hit subscribe and go follow on Twitch. That'd be very helpful. Also, we got some other videos right here that you can go watch and binge watch and get your Path of Exile in for the day. You know, you might be at work chilling and you're like, man, I really love the game and I want to watch some more Path of Exile. Well, right there is what you do. All right. I love you guys. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day. And I will see you guys tomorrow on our next Path of Exile video. Let's go. Get it.